Good afternoon. It's Transformational Tuesday. Georgia Christian Business Network. We're putting God back in business. We're so excited to be here today. I am thrilled to be on this platform with these amazing women of God. We have something very exciting that is stirring in the pot. Yeah, and we're going to share more about that in time to come. What I'd like to say right now is that this is the year still of higher ground at Georgia Christian Business Network. This is your opportunity to experience higher in every aspect of your lives. Haven't mentioned the acronym for higher in some time, and it's just on my heart to mention it at this point, because when people say and hear higher, the expectation is more often than not that it's going to be a financial opportunity, and very well could be. But there's other opportunities to go in higher that can equate to experiencing financial gain, but there's so many opportunities for relational opportunities for connections that you need to know. So the higher acronym, we believe that if you follow these opportunities 6, there's great opportunities for you to experience higher in every aspect of your lives. Higher starts with the acronym for higher. Heart of humility is so important that we understand that God looks at the heart, man looks at the outward appearance. Inseparable integrity is so important that we walk in our yay and nay. Let our yay be our yay and our nay be our nay. That's integrity. It's so important that we become gracious givers. Speaks for itself. Your gift shall make room for you and cause you to sit among great men. Honor him in your health. What's the purpose of all we do? And we do not have health to enjoy it. Yeah. And it's so important that we have exemplary execution. God wants us to be witnesses to others. When we execute and he shows us methods, and that's part of what we're going to talk about today. There's opportunities that we execute in excellence, but we also give a model for execution that others can follow. The R where we land is relationships before revenue. People often talk about the opportunities for your network equals your net worth. I can buy into that, but I want to ask you to go higher, to elevate the opportunity, to understand that if you'll place your relationships prior to your revenue, what you'll find, you'll have greater wins and greater gain. And so just to put that out there, don't be discouraged. This is September. Yeah, we're about to enter the last quarter of the month, but greater gain is still ahead of us. So I just wanted to do that intro. And I'm Beth Copeland, the Executive Director. I want to allow my platform guests to introduce themselves as well. And I'm going to ask Stephanie to talk about the direction. So I'll ask you to go next, Carrie, to introduce yourself to our platform guests here on Zoom, and also those that are live on Facebook and those that will watch the replay. And then followed by Stephanie and to talk about our subject matter for today. You're mute. Yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Carrie Thomas. I'm a visibility coach as well as a brand alchemist. And I'm someone that literally, I like to say I am on this planet to help you shine your light as bright as possible. I like to be there when you have like those roadblocks of what to talk about, what to wear, where should I record when it comes to like being able to put yourself out there and being more visible to be able to share your message, be able to create massive impact in the world.
Awesome. I'm so excited to be here with all the ladies, but I am so excited about what is to come working with Carrie. We told you there were going to be some special things that we were going to discuss on today that's coming. So make sure you tune in all the way to the end because you don't want to miss this. Now, I'm Stephanie Hill Nchege. I am a licensed therapist and business mindset coach. And so what I do is I actually help Christian business women to emotionally heal. We start with the healing. What are those things from your past that actually may be blocking you from building your profitable business. So we do emotional healing so then you can profitably build. And so today, what we're going to be talking about is a really great subject. We're kind of merging what Beth just talked about going higher with soul wounds, right? So we're talking about going higher after you've healed those soul wounds. Now, here's the interesting thing. Okay, Stephanie, we're going higher. We got Beth. Okay, Stephanie, we're going to heal those soul wounds. Now, how does Carrie play into this? Well, because after you have healed, then you're ready to get visible, right? Then you're ready to create that authentic content. Then you're ready to really show up in the marketplace the way that God desires you to show up. You're showing up confident. You're showing, well, I actually like to use the word Godfident. How about that? Because we're showing up not in our own abilities, but we're showing up the way that God is guiding and directing us in the marketplace. And so Carrie gives us that piece for how to actually show up as our most authentic self and how to do it in an organized, right manner and in a manner so that you can stay consistent. So lots of good stuff to talk about on today. And I guess we're going to just jump into it. How about that?
We're going to get into it. Let's do it.
All right. So here's where I want to start, if it's okay. I kind of just we'll just kind of go in like a conversation and interview style, okay? And so I'm gonna start out asking you a few questions, Carrie and Beth, if that's okay, because we're talking about going higher. First, let's do the first part of going higher, healing those soul wounds. And so there's a statement that I oftentimes kind of just share with clients. Go in like a conversation and interview, and that is, sometimes we mistake being out of pain as healed. And that is not always the case. Sometimes when we're out of pain, it just means we're numb. It just means that we've pushed it down, right? You know, you ever heard people say things like, I'm just going to push through that. And we don't take time to deal with the soul wound. And then that causes us to show up in the marketplace not in our full power, right? It actually, let's think of the model of an eagle. It actually clips the wings, those soul wounds, because you're still weighted down, right? So that you can't soar and go to your highest levels. And so my question I want to ask you, ladies, have you ever had a soul wound and you thought, well, I'm out of pain, but when you look back on it, you really weren't healed?
Wow.
I know that's a big one. Wow.
Wow.
She coming for it today, right? She coming for it.
And transparently, transparently, I don't know anyone that really would be able to answer that question and say no, because it's true. If you live just a little while, there's an opportunity for soul wounds to, trauma in life, period. And the opportunity is that, what will you allow to traumatize you, to prevent you? How long will you allow it to hold you in bondage? How long will it hold you hostage is what I want to say. And even as I listen to your intro and to share beautifully about what's preventing you from building, what's preventing you from reaching your higher ground, or even to pinch out to try to attempt to go higher than where you are. Because what keeps you suppressed, if you will, is that play by play that happens up here of what happened to you, or what someone's done to you, or what someone's doing to you. In order to experience the higher ground, is that you've got to deal with reality. And one of the things in preparation for our September 21st is the modules that I'm putting together for the first piece of the hire that will help you is those trigger points. Like, you know how you start off having this great idea, and you can reel me back in if you want to, if I'm going outside of where you want me to go for right now. But when you're purposing to go forward, God is giving you a vision for success. You start to operate and move towards the vision that God has given you. And then all of a sudden, something flashes, something happens, something reminds you, someone does something. You do it to yourself. You come up with these thoughts because our mind is always processing. And the enemy is the source behind it that wants you to believe and stay stuck. And you get stuck and you don't move forward. How do you move past that? How do you have infrequent opportunities for that to occur? These are the type of things that we are going to deal with to assist you, that you don't have to spend too much time. If you, my spiritual mom says, if you have more than a 1-minute pity party, you're going to lose. You got to recapture that opportunity. So that's my input for right now on that, you know?
And I'll go in and I'll answer. It's funny because I feel like mine is like a really big soul wound, but I feel like it's been a very present wound, and like a lot of reframing that I made throughout my life, thinking I was over it and then realizing you're not. So I was actually adopted. I was adopted at 6 months, and I found out I was adopted by my brother when I was 6 years old. He did what every older brother says: "You're not my real sister anyway." But it was the audience that made it seem a little realer than it was. So of course, ran down, asked my mom and dad. They told me I was adopted, but I went in like this phase of like when I was younger, feeling like I had to be a people pleaser, feeling like I had to like make sure I earn my spot, earn my place, and things like that. And then my first version of me being healed was I'll just be the best at everything. So even though I'm this is me. I'm happy I'm adopted. I was chosen. They chose me. I'm chosen, and then I'll just be the best that I can be in everything. So then my birth parents, when I do find them, they'll be like, look at all I've missed out on because of all this stuff. So that was like my healed self thinking, like, you know what, like, so chosen. He was forced upon them because they had to have him. They chose me. But then realizing, like, okay, Carrie, this adoption is literally like a sense of control that you tried to hold on to for a large part of your life. So then I realized I was a control freak because I felt like I needed to control every situation so I could be able to create the perfect response, because at a young 6 months, I had no control over what my birth mother did. So it's like these cycles of like me thinking like I'm a healed person, then be like, no, you're putting on a little facade, Carrie. And then like it's almost like the foundation would crumble.
Yes.
And then I would come back and be like, okay, where are we really at with this situation?
And the thing of it is, Carrie, I thank you, wow, for sharing that story, for that transparency, because in order for us to heal those soul wounds, one of the things that has to happen is that God has to start healing that wound enough for you to be able to share your story. The biggest thing that the enemy, and Beth, you said it when you said hostage, right? The biggest thing that the enemy tries to do to prevent and block us from healing is to associate shame with our stories, right? But when we can start to see that God is sovereign and that he designed things for a certain way, and we started to realize, oh, this is why you did that, because I needed this part in my journey. Oh, this is why I had to even learn about the adoption, because there was going to be a maybe a Jessica out there somewhere that needed to hear my story about adoption. and seeing the journey along the way and how God uses me where he's using me today. Right.
It's funny too, because I always say, like, because I was such a people pleaser for a huge part of my life, I never want anybody else to feel that way or be that way, especially when it comes to putting themselves out there. So I'm always like, let's find a way for you to shine your light as bright as possible that aligns with who you are as a person, not who other people want you to be or who you think you should be.
I love it.
Now
I love it.
I have to jump in here because a lot of people are still, and especially women, I think we struggle with this, is being who others want us to be, when all God wants us to be is who he created us to be. And when we actually embrace the higher ground, the higher thought of who God says we are, he says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And he didn't even stop that. It's like he doubled down and said, marvelous are my works in you. And we have to embrace that, and our soul has to know that right well. And so I always say, get an elevated perspective of whose you are and who you are in him. And some people may call it conceit, but when Carrie says, I was chosen, they chose me, you know. It's just amazing to when you, because that resonates. We have to say things that align with what God says for us to be able, about who we are, for us to operate optimally. I mean, oh my God, I'm just feeling this so passionate. I don't know what's going to happen September 21st when we're together, but I want to open the cap and just let the passion flow from each of you. And I'm late in life realizing this. And the earlier I can get to a woman to let her know, if you just believe what God says about you over what anything or anyone, and even yourself, would say about you, you will begin to flourish. And people may look at you funny, but we got something for that too. They may question, well, she's arrogant, she's conceited, because they're not able to. Their fear is holding them back, and they've not seen it before. And like Carrie, Stephanie and I are saying, is allowing you to be the model. Like, Stephanie said, you are the model to free other women. And when they realize that their talk is not going to prevent you from going forward, because the Savior has affirmed you and confirmed you.
Yes.
This is fun.
So I want to also kind of make sure we get some things that you all that are joining in with us can walk away understanding about soul wounds as well as we're talking. So we're going to say probably about 5 very common types of soul wounds, right? So this is where you might want to take a few notes. So the first type of soul wound is betrayal, right? Those are the ones that where confidence, trust has been broken. That's a soul wound. Another one is grief. Okay, that's usually a loss of something, and it doesn't always have to be death. It could be loss of your business. There was a point where I was doing research and having interviews with a lot of Christian business women, and I found out a lot of them had grief over losses in their business, right? Number 3, abandonment, feelings of left behind, unsupported by caregivers. And as I'm calling them, you may be thinking about maybe what your soul wound, the actual experience, right? And which one of these elements was the actual root? Was it the betrayal? Was it a grief? Was it an abandonment? And then humiliation. And that's one that's not often discussed. But humiliation, that total lack of disrespect, that total feeling of embarrassment that really hits your self-worth and self-esteem, can be a soul wound. And then finally, number 5 and this is not an exhaustive list, but these are kind of the common ones, is rejection. And rejection is that unwanted, that unloved, and usually the symptom that's left behind is a need for validation, right? So I wanted to make sure we give some context in the type of soul wounds. I want to make sure that you walk away knowing some of the symptoms, because I think in the interview, you're going to hear some of the symptoms, like Carrie already shared, people pleasing. That's a symptom of a soul wound, right?
Yeah.
What are some other symptoms that we often might feel? We might feel, because of rejection, we might feel fear of being judged.
Yeah, are overlooked, and when my first response, and because of an old soul wound for me that I have to recognize, is just that spirit of rejection coming upon me. You guys have heard me share over the years, we grew up with that swimming pool in our yard. They came to swim with us in the summer, and we went back to school and they beat us up because they said we thought we were rich, and it's just, I was always, Lisa moved over on the Facebook side of the house. Let me say this. And we got some great activity, and we want to thank you guys for joining us over there. She goes, people pleasing is control freaking. Hi, it's me, it's Lisa. But that's so much, because what we do is we submit to what people want, pleasing them. And it's like they're in control of who we are, rather than to submit to the Holy Spirit and pleasing him, to please God. And so when for me personally, like I was saying, they didn't think of me, or they overlooked me, or I'm discounted, or things like that. Those are triggers, is what I'm calling, to let me know that here goes this spirit of rejection trying to harness me back in. And rather than, like Carrie took it, I'm chosen. I'm not, like, they're missing out. And I know it sounds to some people, and I must say this again, as an arrogance, like I'm being arrogant and whatever. What I'm telling you, there are people that love me. There's people that want to be in my presence. They're the truth. You got to speak the truth. There are people that want to spend time with me, and I don't even have enough time to spend with them, but I want to, And so then you go give that attention to someone said in a meme, to someone can't even, you giving attention and a voice to some people that don't even understand what they're talking about. It's like an elephant trying to ask an ant what you think about me.
Yeah.
Really? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm gonna ask the next question, because I said we were gonna do this kind of like interview style, and I'm gonna ask the audience, those who are listening, chime in, let us know what your thoughts are as well, right? So here's the next question. We got our list of soul wounds, things that happen. We've shared some examples personally. Carrie shared the adoption example personally. Now, we like to make sure, in my trainings, I like to make sure that you have tools, right? Tools to help you. And so one of the tools that we actually are blessed with are the words that we speak. The Bible says the power of life and death is in our tongue. But how we speak those words and what we say matters. So here's the question. I want y'all to fire and light this chat up with, as Carrie and Beth are thinking about this. What are some things that people say that don't help your soul wounds? I mean, those cliche quotes, those spiritual answers that people give you, but they don't help your soul wounds, not for real. Let's talk about some of those things. Who wants to go first? What's something you heard somebody?
It's funny because I'm like, I guess because I'm thinking about adoption. I used to get a lot of, you look just like your daddy. Like, and then of course the one, you're so special. And I'm like, I get that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would talk about like my stress around adoptions. They were like, you're so special though. That means that you're so special. I'm like, thanks. But that still doesn't negate how I feel.
And I think people mean well, honestly.
They do.
But the truth shall set you free. John 8:32. When we know the truth that we know will set free. You don't have to have an answer for everything that's wrong with me or that I'm challenged with or I'm going through. I promise you what I've learned, and maybe this is the coach in me coming out, is listening is the best gift that you could give to someone. Because for me, I need you to listen because while you're listening, I'm actually listening and I'm processing what I'm saying. And more often than not, God, because I pray, is going to give me what I need to hear. I'm not saying we can't receive feedback or whatever, or consolation or comfort. We all need that. But the opportunity is don't try to make it right.
That
Just, just,
part.
just, just don't try to make it right. Just love me. Just love me and pray for me. And so this is something our team does often is, and like Lisa was out there, we follow up, we pray with people, we ask how things are going, our GCBN team. We're just loving, we're still in the works, and Lisa said this morning, I didn't get to say one thing to any of that because I'd been missing this call. But the opportunity is let people know you care. That's all. I'm here for you now. I can't fix what happened back then. But what I can do now is I can let you know you're important to me. Does this make sense?
Absolutely. When you said that about just listening, that's it.
That's it.
That's one of the first steps that we start equipping people with. Just be a listener. In the story of Job, right? When Job was going through all his stuff. Sometimes I think that the way people present that story is that Job's friends don't get enough credit. Because at first in the story, they just sat with Job and they sat for days and they just listened, right?
Uh-huh.
And that was what they probably should have continued doing because it
Uh-huh.
wasn't until they started trying to offer advice
That part. That part.
that things started to go awry, right? So I was thinking about this, and one of the things that I used to hear so much, and it just did not help my soul wounds.
Uh-huh.
And in Christianity, in the faith, we hear it over and over. And that was, he'll never put more on you than you can bear. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and that thing just aggravated me. Well, it sure feels like it's more than I can bear right now, So if he never puts more on me than I can bear, then the thing that I would want to know is, will help me carry it, or
Uh-huh.
pray with me so I can carry it. Ask God to show me how I'm supposed to carry it, if that's the case. So what I like to say is a lot of times the things that we say is not that they're not true, but let's make sure that we make them complete. So if it's true, take me to the word of God. If it's true, pray with me for the understanding to start feeling that in my spirit.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And I see some comments in the chat. Just get over it.
Yeah.
Just get over it.
And I like the one uh just get over it, but this too will pass. You know, you've got to make a decided you have to make a decision. This too will pass because you're going to have flare-ups. And to say that it's just going to pass is not just going to pass. You've got to give some attention to it because that did happen. It really did happen.
Yes.
And you've got to, because if you keep saying it'll pass, what you're doing is you're pushing it under the rug and you're pushing it on the rug and it gets higher. And one day you're going to trip over that thing because it's not just going to pass. You got to deal with that thing, you
Right.
know.
And the reason why I wanted to bring that little part into our discussion is because as you're learning to listen and picking up tools where we can help other soul wounds heal, the big thing that I want you to take away, write this down, is that you don't want to unintentionally invalidate other people's feelings. And sometimes that's what those quotes, cliches, what may sound good to say type things do, is it may invalidate their feelings. And we don't want to do that because God put our feelings inside of us for a reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. The third thing I want to say, and then I kind of want to shift it to Carrie because we're working on getting healed.
Okay.
Right?
I was just going to put in a plug for this book. Can y'all see this?
Yep.
This book is so good. The Garden Within, Dr. Anita Phillips, and you were talking about God put the emotions and placed them in as for reasons. You know, yeah, anger has a place.
Yes.
But there's some response, be angry, but sin not. So I wanted to just say that quickly.
No, that's an awesome book. I'm reading that as well. So
awesome. I love it. I love my Wellness Wednesday team. I learned so much for them. Y'all should join us noon tomorrow. Be there. Narcissistic behaviors.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, good one. Yeah.
All right. So two things. I said one, but two things. Let's touch on real quickly on this one because we're talking about going higher. So we want to make sure we acknowledge how soul wounds can weight us down from going higher. So just kind of think about that for a minute. In business, what are some specific ways that soul wounds can block you from going higher? And I'm gonna give you a quick example while y'all thinking, right? Maybe you think back to an experience you've had in your business and you thought, well, why can I not get this together, right? Well, it was a soul wound. Often we think, oh, it's a skill set that I need to go learn, but it's a soul wound. And so one of the most common soul wounds that I see with Christian business women is brain fog. When you have a soul wound, you can literally have brain fog. I mean, the research is there to the point that the brain fog is so thick that you have trouble making decisions. So now imagine if I got trouble making decisions, how am I going to sequence and organize my business? And what we hear in the Christian business women community so often, the way that they term this is, I'm stuck. No, you're not stuck. You got brain fog. You got brain fog because you haven't released grief. You have brain fog because you're still trying to heal from the rejection of the betrayal. Right? So now that I kind of maybe gave a little bit of a wrapping that up, can you all think of a way that a soul wound in the past or maybe even in the present has blocked you from building your business and you soaring and going higher?
I would say ones that I see a lot for our clients is visibility. Like actually like putting their self out there, or what I see is a lot of tactical excuses of why I can't do these things, or oh, I know I need to do content, but Carrie, I don't really know what to say on video, so that's why I haven't created it. Or I know I need to do this, but I don't have a place to record. Or I know I need to do this, but I don't know what to wear. What equipment should I use, and things like that. And we'll see that those cycles will happen. And in the moment that all that's clear, then the truth comes out. I actually I'm scared.
Yep.
That's so good. Let me tag to that. She said what was at top of my list, excuses, and
Yeah.
then the expectations in other people. When brain fog happens and you're cluttered in your mind, you can't think, process. The first thing that I want to recommend that you do is go pray, because you're getting out of touch with the reality of what God wants you to do, and you're trying to make something happen in and of yourself and on your own. I know what I'm talking about. Okay. Been there, done that, fight that thing. Okay. You're trying to move outside of God's timing, or you're trying to And y'all just help me because I got to bring this in here. We compare ourselves against ourselves, and that is unwise. Okay. The word has, I promise you, this word right here has everything you need for success. Okay. The thing that we have to be careful of is trying to do something outside of God's will, his timing. And so when we have fear, it's okay to say that I'm fearful about this thing. God, I mean, when I came on and started doing podcasts, I don't know. I think Lisa was with me. Lisa Muth is over on Facebook. And we just did it. Sometimes you just have to do what Joyce Meyer says. Do it afraid. Feel the fear, but do it anyway. But the thing that you have to give voice to, and from a clinical standpoint, Stephanie, I believe you could address this maybe just a little more. The opportunity is making sure you're throwing your money in the right direction. Sometimes we go see these coaches, and listen, I'm a coach, and Stephanie, Carrie, we all are, and I'm not trying to down coaching, but we go to the people that we think look good. And some of that look good isn't what we need. Sometimes we just need to come to a September 21st event like we're having and understand how what I'm trying to pay somebody else to show me to do or to do it for me is to tune in to what is God really saying to me, and why am I paying all this money? Sometimes there's an opportunity for doing that, but make sure that it is happening once you're in alignment with what God says. Otherwise, you're going to get confused about what the people are telling you to do. And then when they're not there, guess what's going to happen? Brain fog. I don't know what to do next. Your dependency becomes upon man and not upon God.
Absolutely. You know what? I will speak to that real quickly because I want to make sure we get Carrie's once we become healed, right? But I will speak to that real quickly, and I want to address a question that was in the chat. So, myself personally, as a coach, there are a lot of things that I have learned over time from other coaches, a lot of valuable things, but a lot of things that really just didn't align with the way God was saying for me to build my business. So what I had to learn to do is literally start taking my strategy book, my playbook, into my prayer closet. And I'd write a question down. And I'd say, okay, Lord, reveal this to me, how to organize this. And he would give the guidance. Not that my coach wasn't valuable, because a good coach can ask you questions that then you can then go take to the king to get the answers for. And that is the greatest strategy for overcoming brain fog. So yes, I agree with that. This question that was in the chat was, can procrastination result because of brain fog? Absolutely. Right? It's one of those secondary symptoms almost that comes along when we have, let's look at the tie-in, when we feel rejected, when we feel unloved, when we have that soul wound, then we start to have the physiological symptoms of brain fog, right? When we have grief, it is a physiological symptom of brain fog that happens. And then as a result, we start to have low energy. We start to be what they call, there's amotivation. These are all things that are research based as to how our emotions impact our thoughts and our body, right? And so we start to have those feelings, and then procrastination comes along because we're just not motivated. Our thoughts are just not organized. Well, guess what? It's because you got to release those strong emotions. And that leads us to the last thing of soul care. What are some things that we can do to take care of our soul so that we can now flourish and go higher in the marketplace, right? And what I think I'll do is maybe drop in the comments for you guys 2 or 3 soul care things that you can start to do, because I want to make sure Carrie has time to kind of show us how a little bit how of a healed woman now shows up. And y'all gonna get more on September the 21st, because the name of that event is Woman, See Yourself Healed, right? And it's important that you see yourself healed and know that you can become healed so you can show up in the marketplace. All right, Carrie, let's talk.
But before she does that, just directly behind that, September 21st, I can't stress this enough, is not only in person, but virtually as well. So we can accommodate anyone, anywhere that has the internet. Okay. We want you in that room. Go ahead, Carrie.
Keep muting myself because I live downtown and the waves start, the sirens start going. Yeah. So one of the things that I say, it's the moment that you see yourself healed is really about starting to double down on yourself. So if I look at myself, I remember when I finally start seeing the healed version of myself, it was no longer asking myself the question, is who do I need to be for other people to like me and see me? Is who do I need to be as myself? And if I can edify that, how many people are literally waiting to raise their hand? So one of the things that I did was I start really looking at like what are those unique things about myself that I naturally do that I just feel like is easy and not, and a lot of times I feel like it's not even really that special. It's just me being me. But if I can edify those things, what will end up happening is there are people that are literally sitting there waiting for somebody that does those things to just show up. And it's literally like I like to say, it's like these hands go up and they're like, there she is, we see her, finally. So I'm gonna drop this link and Beth, if you can add this into the Facebook group. So I created this thing called the Brand Soul Quiz. And a little bit about me and my backstory is I have a degree in human psychology. And I say that I got this degree because I really wanted to, remember I was in my people pleasing era. And I was like, if I can understand humans and understand like how to make sure that I'm always the most loved person, like I will be like people pleaser, like number one in the dictionary. But after I became healed, I was like, yo, like if I can use the idea of understanding, like if you can understand, so really what it is at a psychological level, there's a subconscious point of view that has a lens of how you make decisions. So there are certain versions of you in, like I like to say, in that quick, fast action, you'll make a decision which really is who you are. But if you have that time to think about it, you'll start using different lenses that you understand are like experience and things like that. But that true version of yourself is really what your brand soul is. And the moment that you can dive into your brand soul, I like to say like there's different levels within the brand soul. So Carl Jung, he created archetypes. And in these archetypes is being able to understand that true decision lens of how you look at life. And I like to say when we created this quiz, we created it for you to make that first decision. What is that first thought that you would have, and let that be the answer that you choose? Because most archetype quizzes are created based off of maybe how you want to be perceived. This is based off how you actually are. So I like having people take this quiz first, because if we can understand what your archetype is, then we can understand what are the things that we want to double down on when it comes to your content, when it comes to how you're visible, so you can be able to show up in a way that feels aligned with who you are. Awesome. So I'm going to break down the 4 different. So I like to say this is a quiz within a quiz, okay? This quiz, crazy, has been taken by thousands of people. And this is a quiz within a quiz. So the first when you take your quiz, there's 4 brand souls. So the first brand soul is going to be your architect. So I'm an architect. I like to say that this brand soul is someone who really likes the scaffolding. They like the structure. They like the bullet points. They have like these really big ideas, and they don't really care how to get there. They're just like, I have the ideas, I have the steps that it needs to take, and I like to throw it to somebody else to figure it out from there. So I like to say these are your big thinkers. These are your like your Steve Jobs. These are your even your Beyonce. These people that have these big ideas and they can see it. They're not concerned that the process it takes to actually get there. They're more concerned in like what that looks like once we get there. Okay, the next one are going to be your conductors. I like to say conductors are really like, these are the people that can truly see the power in you. Like they just have this sense of like, I see that you have power. I'm going to amplify. I'm going to push you. I'm going to like really like conduct you to act the way that I know that you can. That's what we call them, conductors. So if you think of your architects, these are your builders, these are your people that are kind of creating the scaffolding. You got your conductors. So let's say we're thinking about building, they're the ones that are giving you like the tools to be able to actually implement immediately what you want them to do. The next ones we call the curators. If you think about a curator, these are people that are really focused on those finer details. They're looking at the experience. They're looking at the true story that we're trying to tell, and they're adding in that tapestry and that feeling and that emotion to really like bring it to life. And then my favorite ones, and this is what my dad was one of these, but these are seekers. And if you think about a seeker, this is going to be someone who you come to ask those big questions in life. Like, why am I here? What am I doing? Is this really meant for me? And like, I like to say, like, you need a seeker in your life because, like, even though you're conducting and you're building and you're creating these tapestries, there's this behind the scenes feeling of, am I going the right way? And that's when you go to those seekers and the seekers be like, ask yourself, are you going the right way? Like, I'm going to be that guide. I'm going to be that person for you where you can feel like you can answer those questions. I'm going to give you the space. I'm going to give you the tools necessary for you to kind of make it happen. And that was very much my dad. So those are the four. And I'm going to see if I can pull up a little graphic.
Okay, while she's doing it, when I tell you y'all need to be there September the 21st, because you're just getting like a taste of what all you're going to experience. You're going to be able to start understanding more about biblical principles for building a vision, right, of a healed woman in the marketplace. We're going to have implementation labs for you ladies that are coming. We're going to look at generational cycles. The piece that I'm going to bring is going to be about those generational cycles that often perpetuate and stall us from healing our soul wounds, right? And then we're going to actually do some vision boarding. And I have a few surprises for those who are, going to be participating in that vision boarding process. You're going to do some vision boarding to see this healed woman and then start to understand what she looks like in the marketplace now so that she can show up as her most authentic self so she can become visible. And that's where Carrie is going to come in. So you all already have a head start because you can take the quiz and start getting some insight as to whether or not you're an architect, a conductor, a curator, or a seeker, right? So now she's going to take you into a hub and you're going to actually create content right there on the spot. So this is going to be a huge event. And we want you to make sure you go get those tickets because we don't have because we want to keep the environment intimate, right? So we don't have but a few tickets that we started out with. So we just have a few more that you can go purchase and you can go to. And Beth, if you don't mind putting it in the.
I will definitely do that. And in addition to that, I want to mention that you can attend and bring a buddy for like, I think half price or something. So it's so important that you do that because Stephanie's talking a little to her offerings, what I want to help you with in your vision, because writing the vision and making it plain, that's good. But once you have written the vision, moving it from paper to production. You've got to go from paper to production. And you have to understand the value of collaboration, getting others involved, to embrace your vision. And the importance of knowing what Carrie's going to facilitate, what your role is, and knowing and understanding and recognizing the roles of others in your life is going to shift you forward. Okay. And so I'm going to put this in the chat so that you could go ahead right now while we're on this call and secure your seat.
And that Lisa Muth is on it because she already did it for us.
Well, Lord, there you go. I just love that lady. That's why
Love her.
There's nothing can move that lady out of my life. I'm gonna go find her. I don't care where they move to.
Got her.
Right.
Let me see.
So as
I'm
we
trying
come to a close,
find-
Carrie's going to share with us a couple of more things, right?
Yes. Yeah. So right after you understand what your brand soul quiz is, that's where I like to say you're going to start doubling down. And I want to share, just going to share something with you guys. So once you take that, you'll figure out what your brand soul is. And then it's going to ask you, hey, would you like to take the archetype quiz, or let's say you want to take the architect brand soul quiz. So then it's going to actually let you dive a little deeper and figure out like what type of archetype are you. And I'm going to share this share what this actually looks like. And I'm going to pull up mine just so I could, there's a piece I want to talk to you about with it. And this is what I mean by being able to understand who you are and then being able to dive in to be able to create a marketing strategy that aligns with who you are as a person. Okay. So this is mine. So I am a creator. And one of the things that's really important is I understand that I need to champion like a hands-on approach. So when it comes to me creating content, what I want to always think about is how can I create maybe I need to be doing a live event, or maybe I need to be doing a live training where I can show people a tactical way to be able to implement something. Because as a creator, me showing that hands-on approach is going to be something that people are going to be naturally gravitated towards, which is something I already like to do. But because I understand it now, it makes it a lot more easier. Also, I need to tap into my customer self-expression. I know like being able to help people reimagine themselves. So a lot of our clients, they are very scared to be on camera, to do video and things like that. So what I like to show them is by storytelling and things like that is what's possible for them when they actually step into it. And one of the lines that I always say, and when I say this, all even like before they become my client, they're like, this is our person. I say, I'm never going to toss you into the sun. I'm never going to throw you into the sun and say, go create content, do all the stuff. But I will toss you very lovingly and hard into the shade. And there's a moment that will come that you'll be like, it's kind of cold in the shade. I'm going to step out into the sun. And you'll walk yourself into the sun. And all of our clients literally have walked themselves into the sun. And they'll be like, Carrie, I can't believe that I'll have a podcast, or I'm doing a live event, or I'm speaking on stage when I didn't even want to do one video when we met. And I'm like, it's all about understanding what your thresholds are. And the moment you get comfortable with threshold, you can dive deeper. So it's all about being able to understand who you are to then be able to understand who your customers are. Because it's funny because I like to say that when it comes to visibility, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to anything that's human related, it's about being able to understand the human. And then how you want to think about it, and it's easier to think about it in the spouse. When you get married, you don't want to, like, I love myself. I think I'm amazing, but I would never marry me. Like, I wouldn't marry me because I'm like, you are a lot, Carrie. But there's somebody that thinks I'm not a lot. So what you want to do is you want to marry somebody, or you want to be with somebody that feels your valleys and you feel theirs. You don't want to marry somebody that's exactly like you, because what do y'all have to talk about? Y'all talking about the same stuff. You're not like surprised by what they have going on. So the same thing when it comes to your customer, the people that are coming to your world, they literally have like your strengths are their weaknesses. And what's also true is your weaknesses are their strengths. Like I learned so much from my clients because they're so good at stuff that I'm not good at. And I'm so good at stuff that they're not good at. So what happens is we come together and we solidify a connection. It's not like we're just tapping. So one of the things I always say is my clients are not architects. My clients are curators and seekers. They like the details. They like being able to have those philosophical questions. They're not trying to like give hoorah ray conversations. They're like, I don't want to do that. They're like, that's too much for me, Carrie. They're like, let's dive deep. Let's create a moment. Let's create an experience. I'm like, I love that, but like that's a lot. They're like, no, it's not. It's super easy. And like we just have like this back and forth. But what happens is it solidifies connection. So how you want to think about it is the stuff that you're naturally good at is the stuff that you want to double down on, because that's the stuff that other people are literally just like that are just like attracted to. So it's all psychology. It's all about just understanding humans as humans and then asking yourself, how can I connect with a human that will feel seen, heard, and understood? How can I make them feel seen? How can I make them feel understood? Same way, if you think about it, you want when you meet your person. I want to make sure he sees me, he understands me, and he hears me. If he can't do those three, we can't talk.
That's so good. And I mean, I think that's a good spot, y'all, to let's drop a pin in it. Because I think what you're going to walk away, she just kind of packaged so beautifully right there. When you get healed from those soul wounds, right? You'll start to connect with people who will help you to be seen, heard, and understood. And those are some of the tools that you're going to get at Woman See Yourself Healed on September the 21st. I have so enjoyed this interview with these beautiful ladies. I have so enjoyed being connected to these beautiful ladies as we prepare to bring you this event. I'm excited to just hear what's about to come as Beth shares the vision, build it, and how to put it in your hands, right? To take that and make it productive. And then as I'm going to come in and, like I said, talk about those generational cycles, breaking it so you can see yourself healed. And then Carrie is going to show you how to go to the next level as that healed woman who is getting out there, being visible, visible, so that people that she needs to serve can self-identify and say, hey, here am I. I want to be a part of this. You'll be able to say, hey, I'm out here. These are the people I'm looking for to serve. These are the people that I'm called to. So it's going to be an incredible event. And we thank you, Beth, for welcoming us to share on this incredible platform that you have, for mentoring us. I mean, Beth is just all the things, right?
God, it's all God. It's about getting to the place that we've all discussed today. When you get in that place of freedom, what we need to do is get in a place of freedom. We don't need to develop new trendy opportunities for our business. There's opportunities that are already expanded from your vision model. When you walk in all the things that we're talking about today, that it's not creating another vision, it's expanding, and collaborations provide that opportunity. Neither one of us are moving in this connection, are moving outside what we're called to do. We're just bringing all the parts together. And that's what God wants to do with you, with your connections, with your vision. And so it's not that we're trying to sell it, but then we are, but we're trying to help you to understand what you're carrying and the urgency of walking in what God has given you to carry. So who signed up already? If anybody's already signed up, we're going to spin a wheel and we're going to give away a copy of this book. How about that? All right. If you've signed up today, put it in the chat. And then we want to send you a copy of Dr. Anita Phillips' book, because we're talking about soul rooms. And I want to tell you something else really quickly, and then I'm going to do my housekeeping and we're going to go. We're not leaving you stuck, even beyond bringing you up on that day. There are going to be offerings available for you. We're going to do a follow-up. We're not just doing a one and done. We want to walk with you through this. So this is part one here. Don't want to overwhelm you, but expect that we're going to follow up with you and we're going to walk through this opportunity with you, because the higher ground is yours. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. GCBnetwork.com. We're putting God back in business. We want you to embrace what the Creator had in mind for you to do, to become the best version of who He created you to be. And when you recognize that, you're going to recognize that you're already on higher ground. Join us tomorrow. Wellness Wednesday with the Fantastic Four, Pamela Bridgman Bartell, listen, Jessica Banner, Christine Oswald, and myself. We're talking about, as I said earlier, narcissistic traits, narcissistic behaviors. You need to be there because we're about getting healed as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Visit our website, again, gcbnetwork.com. Become a member or become a sponsor. We'd love to have your support. Take care. Ladies, you're amazing. Paulita, thanks for hanging out with us over here today, and all the wonderful people over on the Facebook side of the house. Please share that out to others to watch this replay. And for those that do enjoy the replay, send us a note and let us know you're there. Take care. God bless you. Talk soon. See you on the 21st.